Bell Direct joins us now from Sydney for some opening calls for our market. Julia, good morning to you. Before we actually look at what you're expecting today, let's take a bit of a look back on the performance for the market this week. Talk us through some of the winners and losers.
Liz, it's been quite an incredible week for the Australian share market. While it is a shortened trading week, it's been a phenomenal performance. In the first 3 trading days of the week, we've actually seen a rise of 3.5% for the Australian share market. Now, it does represent a bounce from the pretty dismal week that we had last week. But last week, the market was down by 1.6%. I think it just seemed worse because of that fall that we saw in the commodity space. And indeed, if we have a look at the material space where the miners are, well, last week we did see a loss of 7%. And this week only a bounce of 1.2%. But elsewhere around the market, if we exclude out the material space, an incredible week. The energy space was up by 6.9%, really driven by Woodside Petroleum's change in dividend policy as well as that special dividend. We saw the healthcare space with a gain of 4.5%. And of course, the banks, a record run there. We saw an all-time record high for both Commonwealth as well as Westpac, and that's ahead of the half-year reporting season for most of the big 4 banks, with NAB kicking off results next Tuesday. So despite the turmoil, it's been a fantastic week for the Australian share market. In fact, all sectors actually in the black at the moment. The worst performing, though, once again has been that material space, but still a gain of 1.2% there. So hopefully we'll add on to those 3.5% gains, and it's one of the best weeks that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, indeed. And despite the commodity falls generally this week and the impact on materials, overnight we saw quite a bounce in precious metals and the iron ore spot price. So do you think that actually might bode well for some of our miners today?
Well, hopefully the positive leads will bode well for the Australian share market today, and the miners may receive another boost. However, with such light trading expected, it's going to be really hard to read into the performance of today. Most people have taken the day off for a long weekend today. In fact, just looking around the office, there's not too many people here today. So we are expecting to see extremely light volumes on the market. Having said that, the market's reopening after the Anzac Day off, and if we have a look at how markets have performed while we've been off, we have seen the US market up by 0.4%. Overnight, the US session having another good one on the back of better jobless claims numbers. Tonight, we'll be watching GDP numbers out in the US, and that's going to be the main release. However, if we have a look at the commodity space, oil prices jumped. The US government saying that the Syrian government is likely to have used chemical weapons, so that really helped the oil space. We saw copper at a 1-week high, and gold prices up by almost 2% as well. So we are hoping for a good session on the Australian share market. If we have a look at the Aussie market, it's been an extremely good one from a technical sense as well. If we have a look at the 30-day chart for the Australian share market, this is what it looks like. You can see it's been quite a positive one, but if I change that to a 1-year view, you can see exactly what the Australian market has done. And we're looking like we're going to be testing the high for 2013, which was at 5,163 points. And if we pass that level, well, we'll be back up to levels that we haven't seen on the Australian share market since 2008. So if I change to a 5-year chart for the Australian share market, this is what it looks like. And you can see it will be a pretty impressive performance if we do manage to go past that 5,163 points. Not a lot of technical barriers there, and we'll be looking at levels that we haven't seen since 2008.
Julia, not a lot of news expected out today, as you mentioned, although we are looking at some third-quarter numbers to come from ResMed, the sleep apnea therapy developer. What are you expecting there?
We've just seen the numbers come out for ResMed, and it's been another record quarter. So we're looking at the third quarter numbers here. And in terms of revenue, we've seen a rise of 10%. Net income actually up by 31%. So that's a huge positive. Now, that's on the back of a set of very strong second quarter numbers where we saw America's growing by 16% and outside of America growing by 12%. This time around, we've seen a little bit softer growth numbers come through. The America's growing by 13% and outside growing by 6%. I guess looking at ResMed, what we are seeing is an increasing awareness around sleep apnea, and that's really helping to drive demand for its products. If we have a look, we've seen 4, 5 now strong growth quarters of flow generators, and that really underpins mask growth and mask demand as well. I guess the number one issue that we look at in terms of ResMed is the currency, but it doesn't look like that's been a major issue during the quarter. It's a company that's managing costs well, it's cash rich, and we are just waiting for the conference call to analysts now to get a few more details on that record third quarter number.